Behind the lavish lifestyle and infamous escapes, the drug lord known as El Chapo faced a reckoning in court. But what secrets did the lawsuit reveal about his criminal empire? Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán, the once powerful leader of the Sinaloa Cartel, was a man who operated outside the law for decades. He was known for his ruthless tactics and the vast wealth he accumulated through his drug empire. But in the end, the long arm of the law caught up with him, and he faced the consequences of his actions in a court of law. We delve into the gripping tale of the lawsuit against El Chapo, exploring the intricacies of his criminal enterprise and the twists and turns of the legal case that brought him to justice. Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán is one of the most notorious drug lords in the world. He gained notoriety for leading the Sinaloa Cartel, which is considered to be one of the most powerful and violent drug trafficking organizations in the world. In 2019, El Chapo was sentenced to life in prison after being found guilty on charges related to drug trafficking, money laundering, and other crimes. However, the story of his criminal empire and the legal battles that led to his conviction are filled with twists and turns. One of the most high-profile legal battles that El Chapo faced was the lawsuit that was filed against him in the United States. In 2017, he was extradited to the United States from Mexico, where he had been arrested after escaping from prison twice. He was charged with 17 counts, including drug trafficking, money laundering, and murder. The trial began in November 2018 and lasted for nearly 3 months. The prosecution presented a case that was based on witness testimonies, intercepted communications, and other evidence that showed that El Chapo was a ruthless drug lord who controlled a vast criminal empire. The trial was marked by dramatic moments, including the testimony of several high-ranking members of the Sinaloa Cartel, who had agreed to cooperate with the government in exchange for reduced sentences. They provided insight into the inner workings of the cartel and the violent tactics that were used to maintain control. The trial also revealed the extent to which El Chapo had infiltrated the Mexican government and law enforcement agencies. In the end, the jury found El Chapo guilty on all 17 counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The conviction was seen as a major victory for the United States government, which had been pursuing El Chapo for years. How did the testimony of high-ranking members of the Sinaloa Cartel impact the outcome of the trial? The testimony of high-ranking members of the Sinaloa Cartel was critical to the outcome of the trial against El Chapo. These witnesses provided first-hand accounts of the inner workings of the cartel, including its structure, operations, and the role that El Chapo played in leading it. Their testimony also shed light on the violent tactics used by the cartel, including torture, murder, and kidnappings. They described how the cartel operated, how it moved drugs across the border, and how it laundered money. They provided details on how they communicated with El Chapo and how he directed their activities. The witnesses also provided evidence of El Chapo's involvement in drug trafficking, money laundering, and other crimes. They described the bribes he paid to government officials, the violence he used to maintain control of his criminal enterprise, and the extent of his power and influence. What role did the Mexican government play in El Chapo's criminal empire? The Mexican government has been accused of playing a role in El Chapo's criminal empire for many years. During the trial, witnesses testified about how El Chapo had infiltrated the government and law enforcement agencies, and how he had used bribery and intimidation to protect his criminal activities. Some witnesses claim that the Mexican government received bribes from El Chapo in exchange for protection, while others claimed the government officials were actively involved in drug trafficking. For example, a former Mexican federal police officer testified that he had worked for El Chapo and had personally delivered bribes to high-ranking officials. Overall, the extent of the Mexican government's involvement in El Chapo's criminal empire is not fully known. However, the testimony presented during the trial suggests that corruption and collusion between government officials and drug traffickers is a significant problem in Mexico. How did El Chapo manage to escape from prison twice? And what measures were taken to prevent another escape during his trial? El Chapo famously escaped from prison twice in his life. The first time was in 2001, when he escaped from the maximum security Puente Grande prison in Jalisco, Mexico, reportedly by hiding in a laundry cart. The second time was in 2015, when he escaped from the Altiplano Federal Prison in Mexico by digging a tunnel that led directly into his cell. During his trial in the United States, El Chapo was housed in a high-security prison in New York City and was under constant surveillance. To prevent another escape attempt, security measures were taken to ensure that he remained in custody throughout the trial. The prison where El Chapo was held was equipped with state-of-the-art security systems, including 24-hour surveillance, body scans, and regular cell searches. In addition, the trial was held in a secure location that was heavily guarded, with armed personnel stationed throughout the building. Security was also tight during El Chapo's transportation to and from the courthouse. He was transported in a heavily armored vehicle that was accompanied by a convoy of law enforcement vehicles. The route that was taken was not disclosed in advance, and road closures were put in place to prevent any attempts to intercept the convoy.